Hello and welcome to Lone Star Silver Screen podcast about everything that exists at the intersection of Texas and the movies. I'm your host, Austin Zook, and today I am joined by members of the team behind Mantis, a new thriller film that has been making the rounds on the festival circuit here in DFW. We've got writer-director Justice Hardy and executive producer Lindsey Barnes joining me today. Good afternoon. Welcome to the show, guys.
Oh my gosh,
Hey,
thank you so much.
great to be here.
It's exciting to have you here. So, I want to start with just where this project originated, Justice, because it is a really interesting film. I mean, you're playing with some pretty heady ideas. There's a little bit of a sci-fi element to it. So, can you remember when this first started rattling around in your brain?
Yeah, it was a combo of things. One was like a couple neuroscience studies that concluded that there's waning electrical activity in the human brain for an average of 36 hours after death, sometimes as long as a week. And I thought that was interesting and terrifying. And then my very next thought was, I wonder which tech company is going to try to exploit that first. And so that obviously is a part of it, is the film. Another piece, though, was trying to figure out how to shoot a feature on an indie budget, and so I went through and cracked the scripts, three different scripts for three different kind of horror thriller features. I wanted them to have a high concept or some grounded sci-fi or something like that, and none of them were quite. They were missing something. And so then I scrapped all of them and like trying to fit it like, okay, what's something that can feel big, but be not too, be producible. And so those constraints also contributed to this idea, the nature of the monster, things like that. Yeah.
So, the basic premise of the film, for anyone who has not already seen it or heard of it, is that there is a detective. She is trying to hunt for a serial killer, and she ends up having to work with this company that has developed a technology where, like you were alluding to, if someone dies within the first 36 hours, give or take, you can hook them up to a machine and you can essentially interrogate them because some part of their consciousness remains. Is that a pretty fair assessment?
Correct. I would add, the detective just lost her husband like that same week. She's dealing with grief. The last thing she wants to do, she's in denial. She won't go back to her house. She can't sleep there. She's sleeping in her car. She's kind of at rock bottom. She can't think about death whatsoever. And now, in order to catch this killer she's been hunting for over 10 years, she has to come face to face with death, quite literally, and potentially use a technology that she believes to be wrong. And so there's questions of ethics and compromise and where that leads us.
Lindsay, when did you come on board with this film?
Yes. So I was set up on a blind industry date, professional, with Justice, if I'm being 100% honest with you. Danny Wheeler, who is one of our actresses in the film, and is also like an incredible producer here in the DFW area. She is my business partner. She said, "Hey, I think that you should meet Justice. I know you're really keen and empowering local filmmakers is important to you in Texas. And I think that you and Justice have said similar things. So I think you should meet." That was the extent of the information I got. And I believe Justice got just as minimal information
Yes.
me.
Or less. Yeah, exactly.
And I'm probably an unreliable narrator right now because I'm thinking about why did this work? And I'm thinking about all of those things that probably are why she set us up. So I walk into a coffee shop, which is like 45 minutes from me because he is coming up from Fort Worth and I'm coming down from McKinney, which is where my production studio is. So we're meeting kind of in the middle. And that like awkwardness at first, like, do you know why? I think we even said like, do you know why you're here? Do I know why we're meeting? Like, no. So we just started talking and he said he was getting ready to shoot and he had a script. And the reason I jump on board, and I say this for anyone that asks for a project first, is I look at who is asking me to jump on board and how excited they are for their project. And I don't think that I can explain to you the belief that Justice had, the conviction to make a feature in Texas, and a conviction to use Texas talent. Like he was going to make this film whether or not I came on board. And so to me, that is the first reason I was even entertaining reading a script, whatever. That makes it sound like I'm this big person and I'm not. But his passion is what really led me to heavily consider first and foremost. And I'm doing an inadequate job to explain like just how much he believed in the project, in the work, and in the talent that at that point, he was mid casting. And I think he was blown away by what he was finding in casting himself. And it just completely fired him up. And the energy is just infectious. And so I read the script. About a month later, I did ghost him a little bit in true EP fashion. I did ghost him for like a minute. It was not intentional. I was in pre production for a doc that I was doing. And so I did kind of go into that production research hole. But when I popped my head out, I had read the script and I was instantly hooked. And I was hooked for a different reason. The sci-fi and everything is interesting, and the thriller and horror is interesting. The reason I got hooked is I was obsessed with our lead character's story. To get a horror film or a thriller or sci-fi film where we pick up with the lead mid-grief, and she is a terribly flawed individual in our film. Not only is there a question of ethics in regards to technology and scientific advancement, there is a question of ethics involved in her own personal life. And I'm not going to spoil too much of it, and mistakes that she has made. And I am drawn to strong females, characters that aren't perfect, that acknowledge they're not perfect. And this had just a bit of a redemptive arc to it as much as it was questioning. And that redemptive arc is kind of, and her story is really what got me excited for the film.
Yeah. Yeah. And sorry, Austin, not to jump in, but to add, I would say Lindsey didn't have to get back to me. You have great, incredible, magical meetings all the time in the industry and never hear from people again. There was zero pressure. I wasn't even following up because I was 2 weeks from production at that point,
Literally,
right?
literally.
Like we were going to just do it with whatever we had, you know? And so the fact, so yeah, I mean, one thing I love about Lindsey is just the follow through. Like, cause she 100%, you know how much of a commitment it is to read a script? You know how many scripts you get asked to read? Like, she didn't have to read it. She didn't have to text me, but she hit me up and said, "Can you Zoom tomorrow?" And then we got on the Zoom and she's like, "I want in." And it definitely took the film to the next level.
And I think this is the first time I've ever had a director and an EP on an episode together. So I
Ooh,
was wondering, since Lindsay brought so much to the project, Justice, could you talk a little bit more about what that relationship meant to the film and why it's so important to have a good EP behind you, if you can get one?
absolutely. If you can get one. Yeah, absolutely. And I'll try to keep it brief because it's a long answer. But because, obviously there's so many logistics in the producing of a thing, but to have someone at a high level, actually, let me just say this, like the very first time I met with Lindsay, she was like, "I'm not trying to control what you're doing. I don't want to be in the, like, if we ever work together, I'm interested in like how that, how to support what you're doing." I think that's very unique. Lots of people can say it, but Lindsay actually did it. Lindsay also showed up in a number of ways on set that she did not have to. She was like, "Hey, I can take this off your plate. Hey, I can do that." So effectively was in some areas and stepping into producing, on the ground as well. But I think that high level vision for how do I find the right people, make sure they're finding the right people, which at the time I was, but we ran into situations where we needed either more audio guys or more, different crew members. And Lindsay was the one who was like, "Let's make it happen." And we shot the film in not very many days. So we had to turn, those decisions had to happen overnight. And so Lindsay was instrumental in all of that. So it's just very helpful to have someone who can have the bird's eye view, even while on the ground, because the number of holes she filled on set and needs, like there was no ego, she likes to say that she's pretty sure everyone thought she was just the crafty girl until like the end of the shoot. Like nobody knew that she was actually the EP. I think that's incredible. I think that's incredible and so admirable. And there was definitely a lift to a film that was worth like, other producers. So yeah, I mean, that's a number of things right there.
Very kind.
I think that's a pretty good summary of everything that you were bringing to the set.
I mean, yes, but he paints it in this just light that is just like, look at her altruistic and self-serving. When the reality often is, I am a newbie, and I want to just state, like, first and foremost, that I am in an incredibly privileged position. I did not come to film in like a traditional route. I have zero formal training whatsoever. My background is all in education, and and educational leadership. So I thought I was going to be running a school district. my whole life. And I thought I was going to write policy at the state level, which was what I thought my goal was. And once I achieved that, I was like, this is actually the worst. I don't want to do any of this. But I think what that did is I am leading with not knowing what I'm doing by being helpful in a sense, right? Anytime I get to step on set is an opportunity for me to learn. Because just because I have the title of EP and I have the financial backing to be able to say, these are the films I want to fund and I have the resources to do so, my actual knowledge level on how sets should run and what they look like and what happens, I feel like I am still building that catalog and that reference. And so as Justice paints it in this idea of the CP was just altruistic and totally selfless, I also saw a director that treated people with respect, and I got the opportunity to see that in action and helps me know what I want sets to look like that I fund. So yes, I 100% have no ego when it comes. I am not your traditional EP in any stretch of the imagination. And he is 100% right. I don't believe that I should work with a director that I feel like I have to take creative vision from. If I feel like to be involved in the creative, I have not found a director that I should probably be working with if I'm truly functioning in an EP role, right? Like my role is to make sure when I was principal, I used to say that I build the stage and then I let the teachers fill it because we're about the business of education, right? Like what does my schedule look like? What are my procedures? What dismissals? Who goes to lunch when? All of those logistic things help set teachers up for success, right? So I take the same approach when I'm working with directors. My job is to make sure that I build the scaffold so they can fill it with the storytelling. I know good people and I love building a team and I love that 30,000 foot view of leadership, but I know for a fact I can't shape light like a DP. I know I can't write like Justice, but I know what a good story is. And I think that there's a unique role in finding joy in being able to organize creatives to get their vision done. And I will say again, I think producing is the hardest job in the industry. Like everyone wants to write, everybody wants to direct, but producing is this nebulous idea, whether it's line producer or producing or EPing, right? Like it's this
Yeah.
thing. It's
Yeah.
so easy, but yeah, it is. It's fun. And he said it very altruistically, but really I need reps on set. That's terrible to say.
Well, I think that's very humble, but I will add again. I mean, what she was doing is the same thing I've done, and anybody worth their salt does is like, what can I pick up? How can I help? Where can I fill in? But she really, I mean, did many things. It wasn't just helping out, like carrying shit. Like there was many things that she did that were instrumental to making my job easier and helping us make our days.
Justice, I wanted to circle back for a second, talking about some of the other people who were on set helping you make your days. We were talking about casting a minute ago, and I was doing some research on the film, and it looks like you had some people who this was maybe their first feature. Maybe they had done some short films before, but not a ton of experience. What were you doing to create an environment on set where they'd be comfortable stepping into that and making sure you got the performance you need out of them at the same time?
Yeah. Well, we did, as Lindsey referenced, we stuck to our guns on really doing an all Texas crew, all Texas cast, and all North Texas. I mean, everyone's local. Most of our cast is Dallas and the surround and DFW, or all of our cast is DFW, but a lot of them are Dallas. Most of them are Dallas proper. And I went through 750 local actors. We didn't have a casting director, so I was just kind of doing it as I was building it. I was like, do we have a movie? Like we have a script, but like, dude, can't we pull this off like a month and a half from now? And it took me 750 to find our villain and our leading lady. And once I had those, I was like, I think we have a movie. And yeah, our leading lady, this is her feature directorial debut, Ali Stolar, absolutely incredible actor. She had a reel, but I think she would say like she didn't love it. Like it wasn't reflecting her talent. So what I actually saw of her that sold me was she had just recorded a little monologue. I don't even know if it was for an audition, just in a chair in front of a fireplace. And like halfway through the monologue, I realized my jaw was hanging open. And I think I exclaimed, can you swear on this podcast?
Yes, absolutely.
I literally was at the table, and I done 750 actors. So, your eyes are glazed over and whatever. And I was like, holy shit, like out loud at the table. And we ultimately went through 2,500 actors in Dallas Fort Worth to find our 11 key talent. Daniel Van Thomas, our villain, Uh, he's highly trained within LA for a long time, but he's a local guy. He's still non-union because he does anime VO, English dubbing, and kind of has his own kind of following in that world. And we just got really blessed with such humble, like it is like incredibly talented, incredibly humble like people, every single one of them. And same on the crew side, our DP and production designer, DP Kyle Sanders, and production designer Linnea Marie Hardy. Linnea was art directing a Taylor Sheridan show at the time, working like 6-day weeks, and still somehow was production designing on the weekends. Kyle Sanders had, similar to what you were saying, Austin, this was his first feature. He'd done a few shorts, but you wouldn't know it. It looks like a Denis Villeneuve movie, It's just so it's just finding that balance of making sure, like, you never have as much as you want resources wise. At least when you get like this all-star talent, it's like, let's pay him like Brad Pitt. But so it's like, how else can we give them value? And as Lindsey referenced, a good experience and making sure people feel taken care of is a big part of that. And so, I feel like the biggest compliment after a film is if they want to work with you again. That's when you did something right. Obviously, you want the movie to work out, like to be great too. But I think it's important to really take care of your team. And
So speaking about not having unlimited resources, what would each of you say is the best thing you did on set to keep costs where they needed to be and still get the most out of the film?
Lindsey did a lot of things. Lindsey, you feel free to give your own answer. I'm going to give an answer for you, and then you could contradict me. But like, the biggest thing on any indie film is feeding people. You have to feed people well, and hopefully it's not the cheap fruit snacks.
Correct.
Like on at film school, it's all this. A Little Caesars $5 pizza, probably not $5, and fruit snacks. And it's like, no, get the good fruit snacks, get the good. And so I was starting to build like sort of what I wanted for food, and Lindsey swooped in and was like, here's what we're gonna do. And like, there was no pizza, okay? Like, it was like real food, and she like just like freaking deadlifted and made an incredible food experience. There was always enough food. People were well fed. It was great crafting. There were great drinks. Anyway, so like, she like leveled up my production history on that side of the experience, and that is the most important experience for the cast and crew on an indie.
So I'm going to take a little bit of a different spin. So I think there's a couple things for me and I'm assuming people that listen to this want to get their films funded, want to work. I know for me, there's things that I look for when somebody brings me a budget. If you are not going to provide workman's comp or liability insurance for the crew you're bringing on for your short film, I'm not going to work with you if that's not in your budget. The reason being, like, why would you bring your friends in to help you make a film? You can't pay them what you want. And if they get injured, they can't provide for their families after, right, helping you. And so there's this idea of caring for the crew actually starts on pen and paper in the budget. So that has to be a line item in that budget. That has to be part of it. The second thing that I think we did, and a lot of indie film young directors and those that are looking to cut costs, there's positions on set that they don't see as necessary that are. I think the first one would be, if you are shooting a narrative, not in chronological order, which you shouldn't if you actually want to care about the budget, you've got to have a script supervisor.
Yep.
Don't skimp on that. You are just, even if you are the one that's editing it and you are in your director mind, you will be so much better for it if you outlay and carve out time for a script supervisor. I think number one, that is huge. The second thing that I would do is having a true first AD that knows what that role means. Because I appreciated how much, and I'm going to say appropriately contentious, and I don't want to mean contention in a bad way, right? Because there's always this tension between the AD and the director, right? The AD
and the DP.
has, and the DP. There's this idea where you have the director and the DP are looking at light, story, beauty, and the art of what we're shooting, right? And then you have the AD that's like, all right, all of that is great, but let's really talk logistically about what this looks like. And let's talk about what this means for the budget. And I'm not talking about bringing in your best friend who's never done it before to give them a title. If you are truly wanting to do it, like, you really want somebody that can do that. And I think not skimping on those positions was absolutely huge. The other thing I think that we did that was really cost effective and that is really boring and it's not sexy and nobody wants to do it is actually having a truly logical shoot schedule. Like if your shoot schedule is not done in such a way that allows you to be efficient, at the end of the day, you're just burning money. Justice did not shoot a film in 6 days because his schedule didn't make sense, right? Like, so if you're truly talking indie, because nobody has a lot of time to give up, nobody has a lot of days. If this is an indie production, most everybody, I call it like, is bivocational. They have a day job that pays the bills and they make films. So you have to honor that too, right? Like it's not,
Yeah,
the world
big
can't
time.
stop just because you want to make a film today. So what does it mean if the world can't stop? And that really means having a schedule. So I think honestly, like as unsexy as those answers are, I think they impact and help a production so much when you have the right people, and they can absolutely derail it if it's wrong. And you'll know
I
very
love that.
quickly when it's wrong. Like honestly.
Those are fantastic answers, and I think that that points to something, which is maybe you spend a little money up front to get the right script supervisor and get the right AD, but in the long run, that's going to save you money because you're going to be on time. You're not going to have a lot of costly mistakes when you're in the edit, and it really takes care of things down the road.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think too, I just want to encourage, like, for me, I also have a bit, and I'll give a nod to Justice on this. He's multifaceted and multi-talented. But when he was directing, he was directing. He was not trying to be a writer. He was not trying to be a producer. He was not trying to be an actor. It is a bit of a yellow caution flag for me when young creatives come to me that have written a story, they want to direct a story, and they want to act in the story. And I'm just going to tell you, as a creative and a new creative, it is very hard to hold space in your brain for all three personalities and all three jobs that you're going to have to do, right? And so for me, I just think that like understanding that I am directing and this is the job I'm doing. Another thing,
Yep.
you have to guard that space. You have to guard and just let the director direct. Let the DP, because in my humble opinion, the culture trickles down from director and DP. And if they are split in any way, shape, or form when it comes to the multifaceted jobs they're doing, if they're trying to worry about when lunch is coming, or if they're trying to get ready to also act and learn their lines, the culture suffers. I truly believe the culture suffers. And Kyle and Justice had this incredible relationship where they would talk and they would look at lighting beforehand and see and talk about it. Like they were allowed to fully be invested in the jobs they were in without splitting.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Huge. So good, Lindsay. That's great. Yeah.
So you guys
Wow.
got to take this film out for a spin at the Dallas International Film Festival,
my gosh, Dallas
which
showed up.
yeah, that they did that. I wasn't at the screening, but I was around that weekend, and I saw the crowds, and it was pretty cool to be there, just hanging around. What was it like getting to throw your film up on the big screen there?
So it was impressive. Obviously, the first night when the cast and crew was there, when we were screening at 7, and Justice, I just cut you off. I apologize. And we were at
No,
the
not at all. Jump
first.
on.
But
Yeah.
what I enjoyed more than anything was the second late night showing we had at Sinopolis. And I think the reason that one was even more impactful for me is number one, the film was in like the little marquee outside the theater door. And I wasn't expected to have that like make me like tickle my tummy a little bit, but it did when I saw. And then I was thinking, this showing is at 11 o'clock at night. No one is going to come to this. I'm just thinking like
Yeah.
we didn't win a jury prize. We didn't, you know what I mean? Like no one is going to come to this. And when I walked in and saw that we had mostly like there were maybe 5 seats spread out that were empty and people stayed for the Q&A, that is what just blew my mind. And that was the moment that just was like so humbling. Like for me anyway, like I loved the Texas Theater and the opening night and all that, but it was that second night to me that just really left an impression. And when I say Dallas showed up, I mean Dallas, the theater, the art, and the horror culture in Dallas shows up for local filmmakers in ways that I think would be enviable around the rest of the country, for sure.
I did love that screening. The screening was like the biggest screen I'd ever seen in my life. It was crazy. But yeah, I loved the opening night premiere at Texas Theater. Such an honor to premiere at the historic Texas Theater, and you can feel the history. It's this that all these artists packed into one space. We were sold out, so the energy in that room was just electric. I mean, that was pretty incredible. I mean, we're big Dallas International Film Fest fans anyway. So it was just great to be there and share and be a part of the celebration of the arts.
If you had to program a double feature of Mantis with another movie, what other movie would you pick?
Okay. Well, does that be old, new, old? The Prestige. The Nolan's Prestige or if it had to be a similar movie, Blumhouse's Invisible Man, Lee Whannell's film, that would be like the sister film, or like do something grounded sci-fi but fun, all that's kind of also genre mashup-y, and go Everything Everywhere All at Once, or
Okay.
Sixth Sense.
Um,
So
Right.
that's what I would.
I would pair it with Sixth Sense. That was going to be my answer.
Oh, you were thinking Sixth Sense.
I was going to double feature.
Such a good call out.
Yeah,
That would be because that we didn't realize till the film was done that it felt so like early Shyamalan-y, like the suspense thriller, PG-13, like super accessible. And I didn't really realize it until we had like at the second screening there were like 80-year-olds in the theater loving the film. At the first screening there was this 13-year-old girl who came out who was like, I love it, you know. And I was like, oh my gosh, did we somehow make a 4-quadrant horror movie? Like what is that? How is that a thing?
So you did not consciously realize it was kind of Shyamalan until the end. I mean, did you have some of these other films in mind when you were making it? Were you trying to take things from them?
No, it's by accident because Shyamalan was such a huge influence for me. There's a shot in the laundry room the second time the hair on her arm stands up. There's a pan behind her. And afterwards, I realized that's a shot from The Village. Like, there's almost this exact shot in The Village, but I didn't realize it until I was in the edit. And the only a time, like shot wise, it came to mind is we shot that close up of the water in the shower where his finger touches it and there's a ripple. And Kyle, the DP, just happened to say, like, oh, it's really Shyamalan. And that was like the first spark. But then it wasn't until I was in the edit that I was seeing it everywhere. And like people started, like, did test screenings and Lindsey and people were like, kind of like, you know, so
I
it's
actually
kind
think
of
it's a
funny.
lot like Signs. The reason I think that is my favorite.
Yeah.
It's so random what my favorite scene is. I picked the most random stuff. My favorite scene is in the opening, and I think because I liked the interaction so much because it's so human with
Yeah.
Rana and Gabe at the car, and I could just picture in Signs where M. Night is in his car and he looks at them and water. I just don't think they like water. Do you know what I mean? And I was like, that is exactly what that scene reminds me of.
Mm,
And having that conversation outside. So,
that's crazy to think about. Yeah, he's all over this movie. Nuts.
but when he was good before he became a yes man and surrounded
I
himself.
mean, I will say,
I think that there is like a
I will say,
his daughter
like
in his films.
he won me back with Old and Split, like those, and also like completely launched Anya Taylor-Joy's career with Split. You know, just like
Yes,
wow.
Split was
Anyway,
great.
but yes, what a guy. Anyway,
So my last official question, I'm glad you mentioned that shot of the hair on the arm standing up because I think movies like this kind of live and die based off of sound design. And I think the sound in this movie is incredible, and that's a moment that really jumped out to me because of it. Can you tell me just a little bit more about what that process was like when you guys were editing and putting this together?
yes, yes. So it was a duo effort. So our sound designer Chris Phelps in Lexington, Kentucky, is one. He and our composer are both from Lexington, and they're some of the only team members that aren't from Texas. Liliana Fisher came down for all of Diff, and I had met her when the summer I was shooting. I was prepping to shoot Mantis, and an old professor said, "Hey, would you meet with this person in LA?" And I'm like, I'm not in LA right now. And so we got on the phone and it was Liliana Fisher and she was a composer. And a few months later, I was like, hey, do you want to compose your first feature? And I said, I want this, I want it to be somewhat sound designy. And she was like, you might want to bring in this sound designer, Chris Phelps. And so the fact that they'd worked together was really great. And both, yeah, just incredible visionaries. The hair standing up shot. There were so many things were nailed on the first pass. And then there were things we workshopped several times. I love like action, all Jim Cameron stuff. I'm like, look, if there's a gunshot or a punch or a bone crack, it better be beefy. And I'm always like, just like beefier, you know, give me the bass. So like, anyway, so yeah, whether it's the hair standing up or like small things or big things, like really, the film was lovely without sound design and score, but it was a drama. Until you got the sound design and score in there, it did not become a horror sci-fi. And it completely changed the genre of the film. And we knew it would. It just like, it's funny that you don't finally get to realize until the very end.
So this is for both of you. I end every episode of this show by asking my guests, because this is ostensibly all about Texas and the movies, what's something you love about Texas? Justice, you first.
Me first. Oh man, on the spot. Okay, well,
You made a whole movie here. You have to have lots of things you love. You can have
I
gone
have so
anywhere.
well. I look. They say everything's bigger in Texas, and like that is a part of the answer for me. But it has to do with the people, like the amount of, for lack of a better word, diversity. Like you have, I mean, you encounter so many cultures, experiences, backgrounds, and points of view in Texas. It's so huge that across, you're getting all these influences from all these countries, and that is the core of film. It's being collaborative. It's having perspectives that are not your own, stepping into somebody else's shoes for 90 minutes to walk, however far you can walk in 90 minutes, and from the popcorn stand to the theater. And anyway, the representation of like how big and the depth of diversity in Texas, like that's it, you get the creativity, you get the boldness, you get the unexpected. And I think all of it comes back to that. So that's what I love.
Love it. But
Okay, so I'm going to answer this two ways. The first thing is just like selfish and silly. I love Tex-Mex. I do not need, I do not need
Yes.
traditional Mexican food. I literally want a bowl of plastic queso. Like, try. I once asked for like cheese dip in LA and I got literally melted shredded cheese. And I was like, oh no, this is not okay. This is just not okay. So I have to be honest, like I am obsessed. Like I can guarantee you I can find. Anyway, I love that. The second thing that I love is, and I know building a community as an adult is always tricky, right? Like that whole adage, like making friends. It's not kindergarten anymore. You like that? I like that. Let's be best friends. Like that's how easy it was. And it's not anymore. So in the mornings, I work at Black Rifle Coffee so I can pay for some edits of a doc. So I'm there from 4:30 to 10:30, and then I get to do production for the rest of the day. But what I love is the community that I see people building in Texas and in the surrounding area is really beautiful. There's a lot on social media and the blogs and on the news, the male loneliness epidemic. People are lonely. But I tell you, at 5 a.m. at Black Rifle, I kid you not, every morning I'm there, there's no less than 3 different individual groups of men or women or neighbors meeting together, having coffee, just chatting, being in community. And I think that it is, and maybe it's because I just have never, I don't know, I just think it's a really neat thing and it's a beautiful thing to see. And so I think there are places in the world where I think making friends and building community is harder. As someone that is from Texas, I have not found that to be the case here. The film community is accepting, and just people in general, it is neat to see pockets of community that are happening, that they are truly living life together. And I'm not saying even like a religious sense, just in like a human, study of anthropology. Like there is community in Texas that I don't think is everywhere as organically. And I think that that's a really beautiful thing.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. So let's talk about the movie. I want to know what's next for Mantis and where can people go if they want to follow the film's journey?
All right. Yeah. Well, to start to follow the film's journey, the Instagram is mantis.thefilm. We are going to be rolling out more ways to stick with the film and whatever else is going on in the world. There may be some announcements before too long on some different places to get engaged on that. We have been in discussions with various distributors and we're figuring out what's the right home for the film. And there's one we need to get back to pretty soon here. So we'll kind of see where we land. And there's a number of film festivals we're still waiting to hear from. So even if we kind of land on a distribution place, there'll probably still be more places in Texas and all over the country and world to see a screening of it in the meantime. And those are some of the next steps. But we want, like, the film isn't a one-off for us. Like there's going to be more big idea, genre-y, grounded sci-fi-y, horror-y, like stories we want to tell. And so we're excited to share those. And the rabbit hole of Mantis in that universe may just go a little deeper as well. So
Lindsey, as a bonus, where can
Yes.
people go to keep up with you and your production studio?
Yeah, absolutely. So please do. I have an Instagram, which is 941 Productions. Let me get the exact handle. As I look and see, I post on it every day. Do I know my exact handle for that? I don't know that I do. It is 941 like that lower dash,
Under-
productions dash. And so follow it there. That's great. Otherwise, I'm on Instagram too, and I post a lot there. Most of it is golden retriever content if it's not production content.
yeah.
But and that is at Classy Sassy Barnes. But yeah, please follow. I short that I did shoot again with cast and crew from here that has done really well on the festival circuit, and my doc is in post, so we're just getting ready. So it's exciting. So please follow along. It's great. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, thank you both again so much for taking the time. This was awesome. And if you're listening, please seek out Mantis. It's a really great horror thriller. I think you're going to have a lot of fun with it, especially if you like your horror thriller films to have a little dash of sci-fi in them. And keep an eye out for whatever Justice and Lindsay end up cooking next.
absolutely.
Thanks, Austin. We
Thank
appreciate
you,
it, man.
Austin. I
Thanks
appreciate
so
it.
much.
Thank you for listening, and if you enjoyed the show, please remember to rate, review, and follow us wherever it is you get your podcasts. You can also follow us on Instagram at Lone Star Film Pod. We'll be back soon with another new episode, but in the meantime, we'll see you at the movies and on the dusty trails of Texas. Bye.